everyone, it's Sharon here. Today I'm going to be showing you this card, which is a project I've made for Kuretake, and I'm going to be using the Zig Clean Colour Real Brush Markers for this project. So to start with, I'm going to be using a stamp set that came free I think a while back. I think it was Creative Stamping Magazine. The set's called Cafe Riviera. It's got some really nice images. A lot of them have got a French feel. This one in particular obviously is a bit more Italian, with the Italian gelato, but I thought it was absolutely ideal for this project theme of travel and holidays. So the first thing I'm going to do is stamp the ice cream, and I've die cut a piece of watercolour paper using Nestability's circle die, and this circle die is kind of in between size the two circles that are cut for the border, but I'll show you that shortly. So I'm going to stamp this with Versafine ink. Because the Zig brush pens are water based, I need an ink that's not going to bleed when I put water with it. So this ink's absolutely fine for this, and it always stamps with a lovely crisp image as well. So I'm going to stamp that in the centre of the circle. And then I'm ready to start colouring it in. So we're now ready to colour in the image, and I'm going to just put an acrylic block to one side so it's handy. And then the first colour I'm going to do is I'm going to colour the ice cream tub, and I'm going to be using the light blue for this. Now the light blue is a lovely, very pale shade. It's great for outlining images actually. So I don't feel that I need to dilute this to alter the colour. As it is just the right shade. So I'm just going to colour in the tub directly on the paper, and that's perfect. And then for the pink, I'm going to use the pale pink, but this is actually still quite bright in such a small area, so what I'm going to do is just dab on a little, not colour in the whole area. And now I'm going to spread that ink around the area with my clear Wink of Stella brush pen. So that gives me the shade I want, and also gives it some nice sparkle, which I think is nice. So for the ice cream, I wanted it to look like a sort of vanilla ice cream rather than a yellow. And this is the lemon yellow, which is quite bright. So I'm going to scribble that onto my acrylic block and pick it up with some water. I'm using a Kuretake Zig water brush. And that gives me a really nice pastel yellow. If you find that the colour you've got is too pale, you can always go over it again, and you can actually with these pens go back onto the card directly with the pen even after you've wet it, which you can't do with other pens. So I'm absolutely happy with this. So we can now go on to do the text border. So I've got some turquoise card, and I'm going to stamp this with some Versamark and heat emboss it with white powder so it shows nicely. So I'll ink that up with my Versamark. The embossing powder I'm going to be using today is Wow embossing powder, and I've got it's the bright white, and also this is the superfine rather than the regular. I find that the superfine powder is much better for detailed images and for text. So I'm just going to tap that off, and then I'm going to take this, that looks fine, so I'm going to take this off camera to heat emboss it and then die cut the shape out. So I'll be back in a second. Here we go. So that's heat embossed and die cut, and I'm quite happy with that. I've used Nestability's dies, as you can see, for that. And you can see here that the white circle is sort of the in-between size, so it will fit perfectly just behind there when I come to assemble the card later. So I can put that to one side now and concentrate on the card itself. The stamp I'm going to use for the card itself is a paper tray border stamp. It's quite an old set actually. I think it's called Faux Ribbon. I've had it quite some time, but it's great for just adding a little bit of detail to the bottom of a card. I'm going to use the Misty for this because to get 3 evenly spaced and straight takes quite a lot of skill if you're just doing it with an acrylic block. So to make my life easier, I'm going to use the Misty. So I'm ready for the first colour, which is Goldilocks by Simon Says Stamp, which is a nice pale yellow, which will go nicely with the vanilla lemon yellow that I've used for the ice cream. I've tried to pick colours that sort of coordinate with the ice cream colours I've used. So just give my stamp a clean off. Now I can use the grid lines behind my card to make sure that I'm keeping each of these lines evenly spaced. So each time I'm just going to move my card up 2 squares on the grid lines, and I can use the grid line on the left to make sure the card itself is also straight. So the next colour I'm going to use is this pink blush colour, which is also a Simon Says Stamp one. This was from the recent, I think it was the May card kit. Now the other good thing about using the Misty is if I'm not happy with the stamping, I can go over it again, and I felt this was a little bit faint in a couple of places. So I'm just going to give it another stamp, and I'm happy with that now. So I can give that a clean, and then again move my card up 2 squares. And the last colour I'm using is an Avery L in Mint to Be. This is actually a pigment ink rather than a dye ink. The other inks are dye. It doesn't really matter for this. The only thing you've got to be aware is that the pigment ink takes longer to dry, so you've just got to make sure you don't smudge it, but other than that, it doesn't really make any difference. So again, I've stamped that twice because I wasn't quite happy with it. So I can now add my greeting, and I'm using this set from Clearly Besotted Stamps, and it's got some really nice text sayings. I've just stamped this just for you just above, and then I've assembled the rest of the card. I've attached the white card directly to the card front, and then I've cut up some foam squares to fix the text circle. Just try and show you, it's got a bit of dimension. Yeah, you can see better at the side, so it's nicely raised, and that's my finished card. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed seeing this card using the Kuretake Zig Clean Colour brush markers. I'll list all the products I've used in the product description below, and if you've got any questions at all, just leave them in the comments and I'll come back to you. Thanks for watching. Bye.